Hi, welcome back. Entropy here. Today we're going to do another starting from zero segment for beginners. And the content's going to be about the introduction to clans. So what clans are there? There's a lot. How do they work? What are their aesthetics? What are their themes, right? Like, how do I decide which one to play? So let's talk about it. But before we do, just a few prefaces. The banners that we'll talk about are very general banners that will happen starting from next month, July for global. And this is because it's just easier to segment these many clans. But yes, other than these banners, be sure to check out what banners are available at the moment, whether it's if you're watching it now or next week or in the future. Things will change, right? In addition, if you do want one very specific clan, do search up if there are going to be clan specific banners, so you can just roll on those and just get those cards guaranteed. Not a mix, but just those cards. It's easier to build around like that, and I would highly suggest you to do so if you're willing to wait, be patient. In addition, if you see on the screen right there, there's a red star. What that star signifies is that these cards are free and available through means other than pulling or crafting, right? So this includes rank rewards, tournament rewards, which is a feature that will come out soon, and other means such as just being a general starter that you get for free for playing the game. Okay, so let's talk about the first banner, Q4, Team Q4. Q4 is the main protagonist of the series. There are four main clans: Royal Paladin, Kagero, Oracle Think Tank, and Nova Grapplers, and these are more beginner-friendly options. They do one thing very specifically, and they do it well. Not too convoluted. So firstly, Royal Paladins, right? These are the holy knights. They're soldiers. They get powers from their allies. They summon them, call them for help, support each other. The key card would be Alfred. Alfred gets plus 2,000 for each other unit you have. So if you have a whole board, 5 other units, then he gets plus 10. So he's a 20k attacker. In addition, he gets to counterblast 3 and search for any ally you want from your deck. Really helpful when you really need that one very specific option. In addition, the mascot Blaster Blade, he can be searched out by Ganslot. So you can search out the specific allies you want. Blaster Blade can counterblast 2 to retire something on your opponent's board, clear the way, pave the path for your other friends and allies to go attack your opponent. Skill difficulty, relatively low skill. There are many builds and options in Royal Paladin, so be sure to check them out. But generally speaking, these three are must-haves in a general Royal Paladin deck. Next is Kagero. Kagero are the Flame Dragons. They burn and retire, as their name suggests. Some key cards are Conroe. You can counterblast one and burn himself and search for any grade one you want, whether it's a perfect card as a defensive option or other boosters. Draconic Overlord is a great card. He can counterblast 3 and attack up to 3 times, dealing massive damage to your opponent. And lastly, Berserk Dragon, he does the same thing as Blaster Blade, counterblast to retire something and just, manipulate your opponent's board and gain advantage through those means. Skill-wise, it's slightly more difficult, I'd say, because you need to choose when you should retire and how you should distribute your costs because, for example, Overlord, he needs Counterblast 3, and a lot of the rewards need Counterblast 2. These are relatively steep costs, and so before you do things, you really need to have to figure out, how you should do it. Also, Kagero, similar to Royal Paladins, have a lot of options other than Overlords. You can play Aleph, you can play Blazing Flare. Those are less optimal, but definitely there's some skill to picking and choosing which cards to play with. Next is Oracle Think Tank. Oracle Think Tank are the clairvoyant fortune tellers. They specialize in having foresight, knowing what's going to be the next card, and drawing cards so you can support your allies, right? So, for example, Tsukiyomi. Through the ride chain, you can check top 5, check top 5, check top 5, so you know what the cards are going to be at the bottom of the deck. And then Tsukiyomi herself, she lets you counterblast 2 to draw 2. So, when you know it's not a trigger, it's a good idea to draw into them. When you know what's a trigger, maybe you shouldn't draw at that time. You can set up plays, and then finish the game with Silent Tom. Silent Tom, when it attacks, your opponent's perfect cards will not activate, which means it can seal the game as long as it has the boost and supports from the other cards. And so, skill-wise, it's generally more difficult to play. It's definitely the most difficult out of the four in general, due to the importance to set up and when to play the Silent Tom and other key pieces. So yeah, but it's a really neat clan. Lastly, the last of the new Q4 clans is Nova Grapplers. These are pro robot fighters. They specialize in multi attacks through stands. The key card would be Transriser. He's a rare, but he does what he needs to do. When he's placed, you get to check the top card. If it's a grade 1 or grade 2, which is 66% of the deck, you get to call it out for free. Very cheap, very effective. You get your friends faster, you attack more. It's just a good card. Next is Ashura Kaiser. Ashura Kaiser, he's a grade 3. His skill is when you draw check a grade 3, you get to stand a rearguard. Again, attack more. And lastly, Battle Riser, he's a starter, but he's amazing because when you boost with it, you get to, at the end of the turn, you get to put it back to the deck and draw one card, shuffle and draw one card. So not only do you get to remove your starter and draw one potentially better card, but when he gets back into the deck, he's a stand trigger, which means you get to check more stands and attack more. Skill difficulty wise, it's a 2 out of 5. Things, generally when you just keep attacking, of course there is some strategy in terms of where to, which column to attack with first, who to attack with first. But if you attack more than your opponent, you just punch them in the face more, you'll eventually knock them out. So next, the rivals, right? So who are they? These are generally the more advanced clans. So if you are a beginner and you want to start with something more entry level, stick with Q4. If you're more courageous and daring, then you could try out these other clans below. So first of all, Shadow Paladins. These are the Dark Knights, the counterpart to Royal Paladins. They do get power from allies, but through sacrificing them. One key card would be Babbed Car. He, similar to Transriser that we discussed just now, is a rare. When placed, you get to call out the top card. This time, it doesn't need to be grade 1 or grade 2. It's just 100% call out the top card. The pro is that you're going to get a card for free. Guaranteed. The con is that, well, if it's a grade 3, then you lose a trigger. But it's a well thought out trade-off, and you have to think about whether it's a card you should play. And I'd argue you should 100% play 4 of it. Next is Phantom Blast Dragon. He's your key card. He gets to counterblast 2, retire 3 of your own friends, destroy one of your opponents, and he gets +10/+1 crit. Deal massive amount of damage on that turn. Babbed Car and cards similar in the Paladin clans, where you get your friends faster, supplement PBD's sacrifice skill. And while the counterblast, the retire 3 might seem like a steep cost, it's a cost that you really have to think about, and that's where the skill comes from, right? The main is also just a great card. You just play 4 of it straight up. It's on place, counterblast 1, discard 1, draw 2. Trading 1 card for 2 card is always great. If I could trade $100 for 200, I'd do it in a heartbeat, right? So just play that card. Next is Pale Moon. Pale Moon. The theme is the circus, right? With magic. So the strategy is to multi-attack through magic, swapping places, hiding their units, calling them out when your opponent's vulnerable, and attacking them. So key cards would be Nightmare Doll Alice on the left. When she hits, you get to put into the soul and call out anything. Purple Trapezus is when she's placed, you get to put out another card from your board into the soul and call out another card, so you can supplement more attacks. And Midnight Buddy does the same thing as Alice, except when she's boosting. So skill difficulty wise, this is definitely one of the more skill intensive decks. You really have to think about which one to attack first, because if you attack with it, it's rested, right? So if you put it back into the deck, into the soul, and call something out, the card that's called out is standing. So it's kind of like Nova Grapplers, but a bit more challenging to play with, and arguably with a cooler theme. Well, in my perspective at least. Next is Dark Irregulars. Dark Irregulars theme is demons and the supernatural. Their strategy comes with collecting soul and empowering their units. So the key card would be Ammon on the left. He gets +1,000 for each card in his soul. So as you collect more souls, he gets stronger and stronger. He also has a skill, Counterblast 1, put a card from your board into the soul and retire something on your opponent's board. Well, there there's the specifics like, burning back row, prioritizing that. It doesn't really matter. The point is that he collects soul, ruins your opponent's board, you get stronger. Doreen, she gets power as you soul charge, so she becomes a really formidable booster, and even an offensive option as an attacker if you really do need it. Skill difficulty wise, it's another 5 out of 5. These dark clans are generally more difficult to play with because the need to use soul and the many options that you have during your turns. So there's no streamlined strategy. You have to really think about each turn as you go. Next, we have Dimension Police. The theme is justice. Uh, their strategy is to transform. They have robots, they have heroes, and power up your Vanguard. It's a very Vanguard-centric deck. The key card would be Commander Laurel. It lets you stand your Vanguard after attacking under certain conditions. So that means you get to attack twice. It's really strong. Dayusha, he gets extra crits if he hits a certain threshold, 14k. So that means you can, apply more pressure, and it just, he looks cool. Cosmo Beak also facilitates the Dayusha requirement, the power threshold, by counterblasting 2 and giving your Vanguard plus 4,000. And generally, it's working around rearguards, helping your Vanguard specifically reaching its goal, transforming into its strongest self, and dealing the most damage that you can. Skill difficulty wise, 3 out of 5 for now. It's pretty relatively straightforward. Play your Vanguard, buff your Vanguard, hit, and then try to win. Lastly, Bermuda Triangles. These are the mermaid idols of the sea. Their strategy is to sing and dance, bounce here and there, which means that they have abilities that let them play onto the board, and then when they're done doing their stuff, they can return to your hand. That way, your opponent can't retire them. For example, Kagero can't really deal much damage to you, and you get to use the on place and different skills more efficiently and effectively. So some key cards are the Pearl Sisters, the first 2 cards from your left. They supplement each other. They help you draw cards, soul charge cards, and do all the good stuff that you really need to gain card advantage. And lastly, Reindeer. Reindeer is when you drive check a grade 3, you get to return a card from your field to your hand, and then call any card from your hand to the field, right? And again, it's bouncing. It's also multi-attacking, but you can also choose to not call it out, right? So there is relatively a good amount of skill involved, especially when the game puts such an emphasis on having grade 2s in the front row to defend, right? Because you can't guard. So it's like, when am I confident enough to return my grade 2 to my hand so I can use it next turn? Or, do I play a grade 3, return it, and call a grade 2 because the grade 3s can deal more damage? These kind of trade-offs is something that I'd argue is more skill intensive and something that is a clan for more advanced players. So lastly, let's talk about the clans that I didn't cover, because these clans you don't get them from the general gacha, right? So the packs that you save, you can't use them. So these are Granblue, these are Pirates, these are Spike Brothers, they play football, and Neonectar, flowery plants. So how do you get them? You get them through events. So for every month, there are going to be 2 events. One of them is, a specific holiday. You get character skins, you get more packs, you get my room furniture, and on the other hand, you get clan events, right? Like Granblue, Spike Brothers, Neonectar. The one that will be coming out soon is going to be Neonectars. They will be coming out in approximately 1 week, so look forward to it. And these are, I'd really suggest these decks to free-to-play players and beginner players, because you get these packs, these cards for free, a lot of them for free, for just playing the event, and the event isn't really that challenging. And so, while you're saving your packs for the clans that you really, really want, you can still try out new stuff through the clan events. So be sure to check that out. And next, looking into the future, what's gonna come out next month? Because there's generally new content at the start of each month, right? So for the next month, we're going to go into the next era of Vanguard, the Asia circuit. It will cover Gold Paladins, Knights with a twist, Narukami, Thunder Dragons, so Angel Feather. These are healers, doctors, nurses, hospitals, robot hospitals, yes, and Great Nature. These are smart animals with PhDs. They use pencils and like plastic globes to attack. Really neat clan. And so if you do want to play some of these clans, be sure to save your packs. They're coming out really soon, and they're really quite beginner friendly to play with. And so yeah, thank you for watching. Please, I hope you guys enjoyed the content, and if you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. One last advice I'd say for beginner players would be, you look over this video, watch it one more time, and see what clans you really want. Are you comfortable with what you're playing right now? Do you want? Is it because you want to specialize into your own clan? If that's what you want to do. Is it because you want to diversify and try out new stuff? Is it because you just want to collect cards because they're pretty? Well, whatever your reason is, I hope you learned something, taken some notes, and until next time, bye.